Hey everybody, it is Mike from First Issue Club. Before we get this week's episode up, I wanted to give you a couple updates. We changed feeds, so we're hopefully going to be available soon on more platforms like Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all those good things. So you can listen to us wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts most. Because we are switching, we're a little late releasing our issue. Normally we come out on Wednesdays. This one's releasing on Thursday. We're hoping that everything goes smoothly with this upload. There may be a chance that we've got some weird doubling of stuff or extra shows in your feed. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, here's your pre-apology. For now, we're still keeping our current website up, but be expecting firstissueclub.com to be coming soon, and we'll be moving our feed and all that good stuff there to a new site so we can have more people listening to the podcast the way they would prefer to listen to it. That's it for now. Enjoy the episode. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of First Issue Club, the weekly podcast where we cover #1 comics for you, our loyal listeners. We help aid you through the muddy and murky waters. That is the comic book landscape, and boy, oh boy, is it muddy and murky. And that's why we're here, to help you, to help us, to help you. Somewhere in there is a concise and logical thought, but we'll figure that out later. My name is Greg Lichtai, one of your co-hosts. I'm here with Budget King, Caitlin, and Mike.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
We have yet to figure out how to respond to that in the intro.
Yeah, that's true. But
We'll work on it.
yeah, hey, you know what? 150 episodes. I think we'll get it at some point.
In this week's episode, we are going to be covering the new Joe Hill book, Dying is Easy, and the new Jeremy Haun book, Red Mother.
And this comic book is like the your window to the world in some ways. So like
Which one?
The actual world. So some people might be looking out and seeing snow right
Oh,
now.
our podcast is?
Yes.
You said this comic book is.
Oh, this podcast.
This
Thank you.
podcast.
That's a common mistake we do on this podcast.
It's called Everything a Comic Book.
Yes, I'm a comic book.
We're all comic books.
Yes. And anyway, so like, if you wanted to see,
Flipping through it constantly.
yes, if you wanted to see the world, comic books might be that way. This podcast is your window. But what we do every week is we goose it up for you. We make it all real nice.
Yep, we juice it and we make it all nice and funny. Is that you juicing?
Yeah,
You juicing the podcast? What are you injecting into the podcast right now?
Fun flavor and intellect.
Oh, more fun flavor than intellect if you're a longtime listener.
Yeah, we're packed full of flavor. That's what I have to say.
Well, you guys should really be thankful that we're here because we all braved this Midwestern snow that we are currently experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming down in fat clumps, and it is not fun to drive in.
Some people experienced it a couple weeks ago. We're now getting it. Global warming is real.
Yeah. Let's get into that.
Yeah, let's make this a real fun. Is that part of the fun flavoring?
Yeah. I'm Greta Thunberg.
Is that your Trump impression?
Yeah, I don't know if I could do her voice.
Did you see that stupid tweet he did where he put his head on her
I've
body
talked
for
about
the
this so
Time
many
magazine?
times that I
No.
assumed we had
Oh,
talked about
God.
this. But I was like, what a new fucking low. You're president. You got in a Twitter war with a 16-year-old. Like, I'm sorry. You can't get any lower than that.
I mean, we talk about how like internet bullying is a thing, and we're watching it from our fucking
His
leader in
goddamn
chief.
wife is the leader of no bullying.
Yeah,
Like, she could have picked any topic.
yeah.
Yeah.
She could have picked, like, don't swing your rakes around and hit people, and it would have been better.
Thanks to my campaign, swinging rakes has gone down 40%. And my husband's still a giant chode.
And has a giant chode.
Well, it's that time of the year, guys. Everything's winding down. We're heading closer to the new year. 2019 is coming to a sporadic and chaotic end, and hopefully from that blossoms 2020, a new enlightenment era of reasoning and logic and
Yes,
a
yeah.
place of peace for our lovely world that we
Oh.
live in.
I do hope the new enlightenment comes in 2020.
Yeah, hopefully. Or that or a bomb. But around this time, everyone likes to do their top 10, top 5 of 2019, whether it be comic books, albums, movies, whatever. So I kind of want to go around.
And we will be no different.
That is true. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. We will be doing our annual best of 2019. Look for that, I think, in the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It should be our last episode of the year, I think.
Yeah, so we're really excited for that. A lot of great stuff came out. And also a lot of not great stuff came out this year, and we're going to talk about it. So look for that, the last episode of the year from us. So while we're on the topic of it, I just want to kind of get one entry from each of you, maybe not comic book related, but what from 2019 is like one of your top things that you remembered or really enjoyed? I mean, it can be anything, any kind of media. I'll go first. I'll get this ball rolling. Endgame. Endgame ruled my world this year.
That's a good take.
It was just the culmination of 11 years of me just being a diehard Marvel movie fan, and never have I seen a piece of cinema pay off so well. I mean, it all came together. It was shot beautifully, acted wonderfully. It made such a dynamic effect on just the pop culture landscape that it is undeniable. It should make everyone's top 5 list of amazing things of 2019.
Do you need a tissue for your tears?
I'm fine. I dab them and then drink them.
Did you ever get a chance to see the extra footage?
No.
Okay, so even as big a fan as you are,
Still didn't
that
care.
money grab didn't get you.
Well, like I didn't need to. Like from
No,
what I
I-
heard, what
I
they
hear
added,
you.
I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't.
I was
need to
like,
see
not
that.
the audience, but I was wondering who was.
I didn't
Yeah,
need to see
I don't know
that
who was.
2-minute clip of Hulk clearing his throat and then transitioning to a new scene.
Oh, I would have bought it if it was that.
I was also like, in 2 weeks, I'm just gonna see this on the internet anyways. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Caitlin's next, and she's like, my highlight of 2019 was our wedding, Greg.
I said
Oh, it
media.
wasn't, but now I feel like it should have been. Oh,
I said media thing.
Media,
Like
you're
right.
obviously
Nuts.
getting
Yeah.
married to the love of my
Well,
life.
mine was
Our wedding
rewatching.
photography.
Yeah,
No.
your wedding on cell phone video. So
Oh, thank you. All right, who's next?
I'll go. My 2019 is I think this was 2019. It was I Think You Should Leave, the Tim Robinson show.
Yo.
oh god,
Oh,
you
God.
took the. I can't see anybody else getting better than that. That's
Was
the
that
award.
yours?
No, I
Oh, okay.
didn't think of it, and that's why I love this. I love just seeing other people's lists and being like, yes, that was awesome.
It's I think the gift that is kept on giving.
I've watched that show a million times by now.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
It actually gets funnier as you quote it to your friends.
Yeah, it's one of those experiential things.
Yeah. And all the screen grabs and the gifs that have been spawned from it have just been absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
I was so happy when I found out that it's getting a second season.
Is it? Oh god, it deserves it too. There's been so many times where people will be like, "Do you like this show?" And then somebody will be like, "Oh no," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't. I'm not gonna like that person. Or I'm not gonna get along
We're
with
gonna
them."
have some clear division.
Yeah.
We actually had an experience like that. We showed that television show
When
to
you
our
pulled
cousins.
it up on Netflix, I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know that we want to end the night here. Like, this could be real good or this could be
There's
real
so
bad."
many nights that it ends for me.
and it was real bad. We were cackling,
Oh,
and
it
they
was-
were
it
just
was bad.
stone-faced.
They were just like, like I think they didn't want to make
Yeah.
us feel bad.
But that's the thing that makes me laugh more is when they're just like, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable."
It's like, this guy says mud pie a lot.
Also, he really
Is that-
led.
is
He
that
led
the
with
joke?
Hey, don't touch the receipt.
Why is he talking about shit so much?
Did you
All right,
fucking touch
honey,
it?
we gotta go.
And that's
Very quotable. Very
Oh my
quotable.
God.
If you haven't seen it.
Run
and then,
out
and then
get
go
Netflix
watch
and
his
buy it.
characters episode too.
Yeah,
Oh
his
my
episode of The
God.
Characters is great.
Oh yeah, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that he had that show,
Literally.
Right.
Detroiters, on Comedy Central, that only did like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I never got to watch that, but it has been on my list.
I've heard
I
it's
really
equally
want
as.
to.
Somebody told me it's equally as good.
Yeah, I've heard great things.
I can go.
Okay.
Vampire Weekend came out with a new album, Father of the Bride, and I thought it was amazing.
That was our first dance song.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it was so good, and it like didn't get like
The whole album. No.
yeah.
We
Same.
danced for 60 minutes.
Hell yeah. He has a kid with Rashida Jones. Did you guys know that?
I didn't.
What?
Yeah, and so like a lot of it is
Ezra, or what is his name? Ezra? Something.
Koning.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of the album is about like kind of coming of age and like just, he's been now an artist for 12 years or more, and like during the boom of like the blog era to now, and like reflection. I also listened to his podcast. He's really into the Grateful Dead, so there's a lot of like weird, which
Seriously?
I don't like jam band stuff, but that really influenced this album.
That's insane. I would never have pegged that.
Me neither. Like that's not a thing that I ever. But I was like, maybe I like the Grateful Dead. I
Well,
don't know.
actually, no. That one song, Sunflower.
Yeah.
I can hear it
Right.
now,
Yeah.
and I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
Every song I like it, and then one of my favorite memories was it came out the weekend I was in Oklahoma City, and we was driving around listening to it, and I was like, Oklahoma City is awesome. Shout out to Oklahoma City.
If you're listening to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, so I just had a lot of good memories and a lot of good times with it. So yeah.
Are they married or they just like had a kid together?
I think if you're that famous and cool, you don't get married.
Yeah.
You just have a kid, and then it's like
And then fuck other
Even if
people.
you do
Yeah.
get married, you like don't change your name. You don't like really.
Yeah.
Your schedule isn't gonna change. Like,
Right.
You're not gonna stop being famous
Yeah.
or working. And then Danielle Haim was on that album a lot.
Yeah, a bunch. Yeah.
I love Haim.
There was so many. Yeah, there's so many hits on that
Yeah.
album, and I was like, what a great year for music.
Who was like? It was a great year for music.
I'm really basic. My favorite album and most listened to album of the year was Ariana Grande's Thank You Next. It got me really pumped up and kept me moving through work on many a day.
That I listen to that song all the time. I love NASA.
NASA's a great song. The thing about that album is a lot of the songs are kind of comical because just any sugar pop is just over the top now. And that's how you get people to have conversations about it. It's just ridiculous lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
super sugary, textured beats, and it's just fun.
Yeah, that's a great album too.
Yeah, it had a lot of staying power, I think.
The key to a good album is have a high-profile relationship that ends right before you release.
That was
Man.
with Pete Davidson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been like the best PR stunt of all time if that actually wasn't what it was.
And they got
'cause
tattoos and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
It was a huge thing, and it was like, did she wrote a song about him and
Mhm.
about it, and
Well, actually, I think the best PR move for that album was Mac Miller dying right before it.
And she really loaded it up for herself.
Well, but she caught a lot of flack for not talking about
lined
him
up
for
the
a while.
dominoes and had her hitman knock him down.
had a
at
nice-
the right
that
time.
was
Mike,
weird that
it'd be great
that
if you
was-
just go ahead
thought
and
that was
OD on
weird.
that.
Because she had a
Yeah.
really sweet tweet about him
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And people
So-
got mad that she wouldn't like do an interview about it
No.
for a while.
Well, that's not her place to do that.
No,
Like, she
I
didn't have
agree.
to.
I agree.
Now that we have all the 2019 best of out of the way, let's go ahead and get this podcast started. Nice.
Thanks. Here's a little bro move for you. Burp in the mic.
Little cup of cheese.
Yeah. You don't ever hear professional women burping in mics, I'll tell you that.
All right, let's get into it with Red Mother from Boom Studios from Jeremy Haun and Danny Luckert. You may remember them from the popular book The Beauty. I know both Mikes were big fans of that book.
I read all of it.
Were you guys excited to see this creative team back together again?
I was. And I was sad to see the beauty go. So excited to see Red Mother come.
Sunrise, sunset. So, Caitlin, Red Mother, what do you got for us?
So this is a horror story, but this first issue definitely felt to me more like a recovery story. Essentially,
Yeah.
this first book is the main character going through a really traumatic loss in an instant of both the love of her life and her eyeball. Basically, from then on, is just struggling to reclaim her life from before. Maybe some pill addiction issues, some isolation issues. And then she just suddenly starts seeing red out of both eyes, where she doesn't actually have the other eye yet. She sees this very scary creature that we can only assume is...
Slenderman.
It did look like Slenderman, but like the titular character.
Yeah. That was a great intro. The one thing that I think that like this whole book hangs on is like 5 pages in, some gates open up, and her lover is like taken by this ominous monster, and then
Before
her
saying something about like I'm
He's like,
yes, mother.
Yeah, he's
or
like, yes, mother. Ugh, scary.
Yeah.
and then her eyes
But we
taken
don't
out.
see a monster.
No,
right?
we don't see
No.
anything.
We see him dragged away.
So much intrigue in this issue with very little answers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also one where I did not do a lot of synopsis reading before I read this, and that may be to the benefit. Like, I loved not knowing anything about the storyline.
I think that's the only way I can do it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too hyped on things.
Yeah, I
and
should
then
I
have
should
my
maybe
own
adopt that philosophy.
Expectations on what it's going to be.
Every synopsis I read said hugely anticipated team horror book slow burn, and I think those would be. I don't have many takes outside of that
Slow burn's accurate for
Mhm.
sure.
because this is not a high octane comic book. This is a slow creep book. That's not. You're not gonna read this and be like, oh my god, I have to read the rest of this series if you don't have some context. I think.
I really wanted it to be a double issue. It felt like it was just like super short. I mean, we got a lot of backstory about what she was going through with losing her lover, her eye, and like the recovery process like that. But as far as like much about the story, I was like, I could use about maybe 5 more pages of this.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I got to know her really well and see a blip of her life that was really interesting, and it was just enough of a taste or a tease that I'm really stoked for more issues of this.
I am too. I love the design of it because it acted like a horror movie.
Yeah.
So like there would just be whole pages that would be red, and then that would be wiped away, and it'd be like everything's perfect in this like copacetic hospital, and
Yep.
it just like reminded me exactly like how horror movies like.
But also like not in this medium, but like the lighting, like the kind of like gray lens that it's in, and
Mhm.
like kind of the dimmer tones were fitting with that too.
The red motif was so striking, added a lot of just style to this alone, but also just really made you question what's happening with her and how does she tie into this like mysterious fucked up thing.
One thing that I was thinking about is that Red Mother is not apparent anywhere in this besides like some of the covers. So there's a little bit of mystery and intrigue as to what the Red Mother is. I mean, she sees red. There's a Slender Man-esque monster, but
And he says mother.
he says
that's
mother, yeah, and stuff like that. But there's not. We don't know what the Red Mother is.
Yeah, I was not having the covers in front of me. I was like, is she the Red Mother?
Mm-hmm.
I know he's going
Well,
to
it
a Red
does-
Mother.
It does look as if she's going to have some kind of connection to the Red Mother from the cover.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like the Red Mother and this figure that we see in this first book are the same person.
I think there's a certain style of European horror movie that this is like mimicking a little bit, like What Lives Below, or there's some other like horror movies where it's like,
The Babadook.
is that a European movie?
That's an Australian movie,
Yeah.
I think.
So maybe just
I
not
loved that
American
movie.
like horror movies. It just felt if we were talking to Jeremy Haun right now and he didn't say this was horror movie inspired, I would be dumbstruck.
I would call him a liar to his face.
And also Jeremy Haun, we had a great interview with him on this podcast. Big fan of him, and he's a fucking phenomenal writer.
I have a hot take on format. Read it digital because I'm waiting on my copies to come in the mail.
We all had to wait for our copies.
Yeah,
so we
exactly
all read
right.
Digital, yeah.
Selling out. Hot book. Digital, better format for horror comics.
I agree.
Yeah, they
Well-
pace it so you can like
Yep.
get
Especially
the full
in that
effect.
view, the view that
Not seeing reveal, like when you turn a page and having a
Oh.
reveal on page 2 that like I caught a glimpse of it and I know it's coming.
mm-hmm.
Like just being able to swipe and do one thing at a time was great. Additionally, they're doing such cool things with digital comics now where swiping and then you see this red panel and then you swipe again and then the text like
zooms out. Or, yeah.
like animates in over this like blood red screen and it's just like ooh, gave you chills. It's just something that's like so nuanced, but it added a lot to the experience for me.
Can you imagine reading them in that like focused view in VR? Like I'm sure
Ugh.
that's where it's going to go.
That would be
If it
awesome.
isn't available
Ooh,
already.
comics in VR? That would be
Yeah.
sick.
Mhm.
That'd
I
be
would
so
love that.
cool.
Actually, yeah, that's a really great point. Just throw on your headset
Yeah.
to read it.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they do the background separate so you look around a
Oh
little
my
bit.
Oh
Yes.
my fucking god, that
Yep.
would be insane.
It's
Yep.
kind of like exploring a little
Yeah.
scene.
Take all my money.
Yeah, it is yours.
If this was the first 10 minutes of a horror movie, I would be hooked.
I'll be shocked if this doesn't get optioned. It seems like an easy setup for a show
But
or a
it doesn't
movie.
seem like a show is the thing. It seems like a movie.
Yeah.
Well, either way.
Sure.
A contained...
Most things are getting showed option, though, that are comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to turn this into a movie is a little bit, is cool. It's a different take. What were you going to say, Mike?
I was going to say the beauty, when I read that first issue, I was like, TV show, 100%.
Yeah.
And I am surprised. I don't know if anything's happened with it, but I am surprised I haven't heard for sure that is happening somewhere.
When he interviewed with us,
Yep.
there was a couple of things he was like, I can't tell you right now.
Yeah.
And although he is prolific, he doesn't have as many projects as like Cullen did.
Mm-hmm.
So when Cullen was also saying that, I was just like, yeah, of the 100 that you have, I had no idea it was going to be, it ended up being this one weird book that I had anyway. But like in Jeremy's case, he only has like 10 books, I think. So it probably was the beauty that he was talking about. I'm sure he doesn't want us speculating.
And it could certainly be something that hasn't been released yet, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
True. How do you guys think it handled like loss and like that kind of like mental health issues of physically losing a part of your body and like having someone just taken away from you in such a traumatic way?
I thought it dealt really well with that.
Yeah.
It was totally unnecessary to the overall plot. I guess it's themed in on the eyeball itself, but like when she gets the replacement, like the glass eye or whatever, and just her reaction of just like tears and feeling like now I'm coming back to the person I was, and just being so grateful that she was able to get this replacement. Like, I don't know what you would call it. It's not really a maybe it is like a prosthesis, but like I thought it dealt really well with that. The fact that she was able to connect for a bit with her friend, but then it just made her feel way worse because she can't really talk about it yet. I thought it dealt really well with those aspects.
Well, yeah, and you saw like the apprehension of like I felt weirded out. Like the friend obviously just wanted to talk about what happened and like.
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure on friends who go through the support of a friend who's going through trauma.
Yeah.
You don't want to take too much of it on.
Yeah.
You don't want to avoid it. You want to know what the right thing is for them, and that's a lot of pressure.
I recently had, I would say, he was a friend, but we weren't like super close, take his life. And at the funeral, I was navigating a lot of that where I was like, oh shit, this person cannot talk about this right now. Or like this person, we can kind of just have good memories about this person here. And I think that's a weird thing that you don't know or think about until you are in the midst of loss.
Well, yeah, no one really teaches you how to handle that kind of situation ever.
You can't teach it because it's different for every person.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that they can go to somebody who's just experienced something terrible like that and say, I know how you feel, and here's some bad things that have happened to me, so I'm right there with you. And that's like the least helpful thing.
Yeah.
Like,
typically
no one knows how anyone else experiences pain. Even if, like, let's say that we both had identical twins that died in car accidents. Like, I can't tell you that my experience is the same as yours. They're different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that sometimes just showing up is enough.
I was going to say, sometimes the people who do have the most similar experiences won't do that. And just by observing, like, how people with trauma relate to other people with trauma, that's really not the move to make.
Yep. I like that a friend in the book just keeps calling her and calling her and calling her.
Not leaving her alone.
You'll talk to me on your own time.
Yeah.
I'll still be available tomorrow, even though you haven't picked up the phone for me in
I'll be ringing you
10 days straight. So I think Jeremy and this creative team do a really good job with writing people in a realistic way. Like the couple, when we started the book and they're having like a happy moment, just seemed really real. The relationship between the friends seemed real. It can be hard to navigate this sort of thing in a comic book and not make it feel forced. And
especially
it was very natural to me.
Like the introduction of the pills, even that didn't seem forced. And that can get very stereotypical. Like, cool, now she's got an addiction. Like, she's turning to drugs. But, like, it didn't feel that way at all.
A big overreaction. I've got to tease the pill thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you guys think it was realistic when, in the beginning of the book, she said that she ate a whole pizza and then wants to have sex still?
I know that this is gonna really benefit you in some way.
What's your angle?
If I'm full of pizza, I don't really know if I want to have sex.
Aren't you constantly
Immediately.
full
Well,
of pizza?
he didn't eat it. She ate it. He wanted to have sex with her.
True, but she was just like, okay, belly full of pizza? How about a belly full of you now? Like, let's do this.
Oh, God.
After I gorge myself, I want
Yikes.
to fuck.
Like a true hedonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we fuck on top of the food?
Give me that turkey and some sex.
Now I just imagine you having sex, eating
It's a
a
race
turkey
to the
leg.
finish
It's like,
line before you fall asleep.
Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe that's my fetish, is eating while I'm having sex. I haven't tried it.
Eating while you're having
How do you know if
sex?
it's a fetish if you haven't tried it?
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't. You
Sorry, Heather.
Can't, you can't truly know.
I'm not suggesting
You
that you
can't
do this
truly
now.
know your fetishes unless you try them.
So tonight, go to bed with a bowl of cottage cheese and be like, hey, baby, I want to try something new tonight.
As both being people who don't eat cheese, this will be great.
Cottage cheese. That's like the grossest one to
But
start
it's
with.
spongy, like two bodies coming together.
Have fun trying to climax when you're holding in all your burps and farts and thinking about that the entire time.
Oh, God.
Well,
Eat-
it sounds like you're not holding them back.
Yeah,
so.
eating's not gonna stop that.
So it's just for your pure enjoyment,
Yeah.
not the other person.
She's got like a hazmat suit on.
Just like finish it.
Yeah.
This chocolate cake is good.
God.
Funny.
What'd you say?
I said funny.
If you guys lost an eye, like this woman did,
Yeah.
would you get an identical eye put back in?
I would.
Or would you get like
I
a
don't
funny
think I'd
one?
get a fun one.
Like a smiley face or a bullseye
Well,
or
we can
something?
get a fun one. I might be eye patch guy.
You'd be an eye patch man?
I've seen some people rock it.
Eye patchman.
Yeah.
Eye patchman.
I've always thought if I ever lost an eye, I would do an eye patch as well. I think it just adds some character to you.
Yeah.
People like, it's like a minor case of peacocking for me.
People do not disrespect an eye patch person.
I don't,
No.
I don't know that I would. I think I would get a replacement eyeball.
Same color?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do like maybe like a purple one on one side and a normal
No.
your normal eye on the other?
I actually
Maybe I would get ones for holidays.
Like a wreath?
No, like like a wreath or a pumpkin. A pumpkin iris.
a pumpkin. Have you ever seen those glasses that are just like eyes that have a little hole cut out of them?
Yeah.
So they're like mystery. Whatever. I would just pop one out and have my the glasses that are like the fake eye.
Over your eye patch?
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
like that. Yeah, I like that too.
I think they sell those in grocery stores and build them as disguises.
I think so too. Disguise kit.
I want to see them like do that like in a lineup. Just
Oh
like,
my God,
he
what if
looked like
that's what
that
you
guy,
got-
but his eyes were different. That can't be him.
What
eyes
if that's
weren't
like what D
cardboard.
and D means when it says your character has a disguise kit? It's like just that with the nose and the mustache. Like that's all it
Is
is.
that Groucho Marx? What is that? I was roused by Groucho Marx. Oh man, I really did enjoy this book. I just I don't
Needed
think
a little more in the first issue.
I just need a little more action. I think that's just who I am as a reader. Like, yeah, it was cool seeing them tackle like mental illness and like loss and all that stuff, but you know, give me some punching, give me some kicking.
When you think about the idea of like so this character took her partner.
Yep.
And now it's just showing up for her. What does it want with her?
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna get her? Is it gonna ask her to become like?
I guess
The
I
Red
wanted
Mother, like,
more
that's kind of
interaction
a-
with that, which makes me think I'm going to pick up issue 2 because clearly there's going to be a lot of that. But there was that tease, but I wanted a little bit more just in this book of that interaction.
I think to your point, it does ask from more from the reader to kind of get into that based on what it presents.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, but
Well, it's the same thing with the Jeff Lemire and Phil Hester book. We love the creative teams, and we know that they produce such great things.
Family tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know you guys are great and you create great things, but these first issues are just like a little lacking in their.
This one had
Content.
more than family tree for me, but
I agree.
I see
There-
what you're saying.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line in what's like when I know something's maybe not for me, and then whether or not the first issue like does enough. I think the more I read comics, the more I'm starting to shift to, was it cohesive and easy to follow, and do I care about the characters? And if those two things get a yes, I'm going to buy the second issue of it.
Yeah.
If, let's say I get a full-on plot and it's just not vibing with me, then that's a no from me, dog, on that number 2.
That's a no for me, dog.
Does that like rule out all event books from now on?
Kind of does.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't found one that's really very cohesive
Yeah.
to date.
Yeah. They're the start, especially
Or
the start.
easy
The
to
starting
follow, I
of them
guess.
are really rough.
I think it's safe to say that we all really enjoyed it. We enjoy this creative team, so if you get a chance, go pick it up.
Boom has killed it, man.
Now we are going to get into dying is easy.
And writing comic books isn't.
Yeah, from what we know.
Yeah. So take this comic book back to the drawing board.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
okay, we got a take right
takes.
away.
Caitlin, before we get into that, can you please tell us what this book is about?
I can try. So this is Sid Shit Talk Holmes, a little take on Sherlock Holmes. I am led to believe he is a grizzled ex-cop who really hasn't seen better days and has turned to trying to make it as a stand-up of all things from his ex-cop life or from his cop lifestyle. Once he beats up a joke thief on his way to stardom on other people's material, he finds out someone finished the job, and now he's on the other side of the law. The
But-
end.
Okay, so obviously, Mike, you had issues.
Yeah, I think we were all waiting with bated breath on.
Okay, so here's my thing on it. I have many things about this comic
Okay,
book.
start the clock.
One of them is which we love the 90s, and we talk about a lot of 90s nostalgia. One thing that was not great about the 90s was the Andrew Dice Clay brand of comics that are like, I'm edgy.
I don't think this dude's like that, though.
No, neither do I.
Hickory dickory dock, I'm a
No,
cop.
yeah.
He didn't have like.
you know what's crazy? When a guy killed himself, he also pissed himself.
But he didn't say that.
He said more or
No.
less said like he was just like
He's basically retelling old
Shock.
cops. He's not trying to shock anybody. He's just trying to like relate life to how crappy
it was like 90s shock comic.
It wasn't.
it wasn't. It was like
I
bad
think-
George Carlin.
I think you saw a stand up in a comic book and then read all the word bubbles with, hey, come on, what's up with the people in the bar with the drinks?
that was like Andrew Dice
thought-
Clay and Bill Cosby.
That's the two most prolific
If you
comedians
if
of
you
all time.
you go to
I'm Bill Dice.
if you go to the who's the inspiration of this, they would say, oh, the seedy New York stand-up comic scene of the 90s, the Jay Lenos, the Andrew Dice Clays, the crazy oddballs. That's what they would say. And that's not my brand of comedy that I like.
I felt that it was very clear that he is not an established enough comic to have a really worked through set.
Yep.
He maybe goes into some territory that doesn't work for a lot of different people because of his background. But he did have some stuff that made me like internally smirk with the bouncing
Yeah.
stuff. Like I thought it was like he has the bones of a good comic, but he's going into material that's not going to work for
This
everybody
is literally
and it's not fleshed
one
out.
of his jokes is like, I stumbled in a subway and I fell into a bag of tits.
Not a subway. Also, he's talking about a bouncer in a strip club. And how it's a better gig than being a bouncer in a comedy club.
I tripped in and fell into some boobies.
That's also like what it is to be a comic. He's probably workshopping jokes and
Yeah,
like.
there were like 5 people in the
Those
club and
aren't
they were all
jokes.
comedians.
Oh my God. Obviously, it's why he's working on them.
Well, he fucking failed.
Here's the I found out what the issue is. Greg, Caitlin, and Mike, we like comedy. we like follow it and like know like
Yeah, we love it.
What's funny and like who's funny. Not Budget King.
But your
I
king
would
is an
say
e-boy.
It's not your thing.
I would say I'm a barometer of true
It's
comedy.
not your thing.
You put something funny in front of me, and I can tell you what the general public will think is funny.
So you're like a producer.
Yeah, I believe
This
that,
I have
will
really
not
bad
sell.
news for you. A lot of people really liked Andrew Dice Clay.
but they don't anymore.
He got a movie out of it.
So you're saying only for modern times you can do
Yeah,
this?
I take the current barometer of the day, the moment, the time, the period, right
Should
now.
I also say that you do not like period pieces?
Yes.
And
yes.
so this was working against
hmm
your interests from the jump.
I like the 90s, though, in some ways. So it had that. Here's the other thing.
You're projecting your stereotypes of stand-up on this.
So that was one point that I had.
Yep.
The other point is that if somebody had said, what was this comic book about? I would have been like, a comedian who is like maybe a serial killer or also kills people too. And it's
He
like,
didn't kill him.
It's not that at all.
well, I know it's not that, but in the end, he does kill him.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
He accidentally killed him.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Somebody else did it.
Somebody else killed him.
You don't think that he
Where
like,
he leaves him is not even the same pose, like, and his face has been beaten
so
in, and he's
okay?
lying
So
in
then
a
I
pool
read
of
a different. I thought that he was like internalizing something, and he didn't realize how far he actually went and killed him.
And how do you not like this comic? The girl had a fucking pentagram dress on.
Contrary to popular belief, all plays to Satan does not make me immediately like a comic book.
I think so. I think it
I
does,
think
actually.
I think I don't know you at all anymore, but you
Okay, it is a good win. I did like that
you
part.
like a period piece.
Yes.
You hate this comic because it talks about boobs.
I like boobs too, but also
I
the
don't know you
writer
anymore.
the writer of Punk's Not Dead, that comic book was atrocious, and he's also on this comic book. So I think Joe Hill just picked a bad team for himself.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
This comic book was co-written
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
by the author of Punk's Not Dead and Joe Hill.
Oh, okay.
And I think I'm blaming Punk's Not Dead guy, and I think Joe Hill was like, I'm just trying to write a horror book here, and then Punk's Not Dead guy did all these like weird things that nobody wants.
Was it even a horror book?
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I think it's like a crime noir thing
The
with
only
There's a comic.
thing,
with a comic.
the only thing I could make a case for it being horror is if the tie-in to this lady that everyone's saying he made kill herself
Yeah.
comes back in some way to haunt him, or that maybe some like thing is trying to get revenge on him,
Yeah.
or put him away because he's done this crime in their minds.
Yep.
Actually, that's
Maybe.
a good point. Because they did
I
touch
think
on
I-
a pretty
Yeah.
important part of his life of he made this woman. Well, he pestered this woman.
Because he was saying that the evidence pointed to that she killed her
Toddler,
child.
yeah. What are we doing?
This is where this book belonged.
On Black Crown.
hmm
You hated this book.
That's.
I
I mean,
did
I wouldn't have been surprised to see it on Black
To see
Crown.
this on, yeah. If this book had been on Black Crown,
It was an image book, right? Was it
no,
on Image?
no,
IDW.
IDW.
Okay.
Yep. I think the moment that it had this book,
That's an obscure publisher, I think.
IDW. Yeah.
Take bigger risks if you're a bigger writer on something like that.
Yeah.
Do something weirder.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best writing parts of this was when he beats the shit out of this comic, and the comic's like the comedian that he didn't like is like injured, and he like goes for the throat to try to insult him
Yep.
about all this stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, like that guy sucks. Like, so that was
Well, and
good
he was
writing. There was good
bringing up
character
this-
writing.
He was bringing up the instances from his past that we also found, like when he was attacked by that woman. I didn't even know if that was supposed to be like, he actually should have known that though. I don't know.
I think we're
Maybe
going to find
this
out.
guy's going insane and he thought he was saying that stuff. I don't know.
My impression was that this was a news story or something that was really popularized, and now it's kind of common knowledge that if you know this guy,
Yeah.
he was in this like lawsuit or something, and now he's a disgraced cop, and he's
That would make sense.
hanging out in CD clubs now.
I got this weird feeling that like the comic that got beat up, his grandpa or dad was the truck driver. The way he was phrasing it, because he's like, you may also forget that the truck driver also died.
Yeah, That
No,
was a
I-
little odd to
no.
pepper in.
I didn't get that. I kind of thought he was just like trying to be like, you're a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I may have been reading into it, but
That
like if
not
you
only
found
did
out that
someone who you egged someone on to killing themselves, and maybe you've convinced yourselves that they deserved it, but hey, what about the guy who hit the woman, veered off the road, and died?
yeah,
Like
that's
you're
true.
You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself convince yourself otherwise.
That dialogue was really good.
Yeah,
that,
it was-
that
it
was
was
that
super
was
good.
awesome.
I loved the whole book. I thought it was really intriguing. The art style was really good.
I guess I just don't like that type of person So I had to be like, okay, let me take off the Budget King blinders.
The thing that was hard for me to
Forget
buy.
the Satan. Forget the period piece. What is this book at its core?
The thing that was hard for me to buy was that he was trying to make it as a stand-up. I don't really know why that would be a career of choice for somebody to kind of throw themselves into
He thought he had
after a life
he thought
like
he had
that.
enough like good material. I've heard that a lot of comedians have depression in the way that they're working out their like own thoughts are like publicly through comedy.
Yeah.
So that's
It seems like pretty grisly to try to turn that material, that particular material, not just like your kind of general childhood trauma or anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
Like that is some dark, grisly stuff to try to make light of.
They did insinuate that his material is good enough for a younger, better-looking guy to cop it
Yep.
and have success.
Yeah.
I guess, and we can get into this like weird thing. This is where you guys are going to disagree with me. I don't like the
Just
This
now?
is where.
Yeah. Have you just been listening?
I don't like the traditional stage for comics to get like famous of like, give me 15 minutes of your best material. And it's like I like the Eric Andres, Harold Burris, like Tim and Eric, like the backwards way of just being like, this is what's actually fun, like going with like the times of that. And so like I feel like this is built on this premise of like the empirical knowledge of like comedy, and it just felt like weird.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I'm kind of fascinated by stand-ups and the processes and workshopping things and all that they go through in order to like get an hour special. And then it's like now everyone's seen it and I can't do any of those jokes I just spent like fucking 2 years trying to figure out how to string them together. And so it was really interesting for me from that perspective, just because I think it's a personality type, a mentality that I'm interested in, and then you throw some like murder and intrigue into it, and it made for a good tale. It is very much so a personality portrait of this character and a comedian type, and if you don't like stand-up comedy or those types, especially like 90s stand-up comedy, I could totally see, and you're very validated in not liking this because it was less any of the other genre things we're talking about and more so a portrait of this guy.
And to just like piggyback on that point, like both of the primary characters in this book, you are not supposed to like, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
to get anybody to even like your main character, I mean, clearly he's got a friend in that woman that shows up, but
Yeah.
like, he's not a likable guy,
Right.
just by any means. So it's kind of hard to work with that as your main character.
Totally.
Like, not even trying to redeem him at all.
Do you guys like pieces of media that eventually say their title somewhere in there?
This is
I
going
don't-
somewhere.
I don't like it. I think it's like the corniest moment of anything.
So
You
when-
didn't like it when in Empire Strikes Back, Luke looks at the camera and goes, "It really was a Star Wars." Or you didn't like it when Richard Dreyfuss from the boat yelled, "Jaws!"
That's an easy one.
I wasn't a big fan when Harrison Ford, he looks down the cave and he goes, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
It had to be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's good. It just had.
Yeah, so when the dying is easy line, like when he goes, dying is easy, or something, what's like his little setup?
Comedy's hard.
Comedy's hard. Dying is
Dying
easy.
is easy. I'm just like, wah, wah, yakety smackety doo.
I think in your mind, this book had a lot going against it, so you weren't ready to cut it any favors.
Well, I'm also like, Joe Hill, man, you got a whole publishing company going. You got
Well,
like,
maybe this deal was
you
before
got,
he had that.
You got Hot Books. You got Lock and Key just picked up. Don't do Punks Is Not Dead guy a favor by doing this book. Just spend more time with your family and your dad, who's famous.
Guess what? Joe Hill, also famous.
Yeah.
He has to have to hang out with his famous dad. Papa, can I get some of your famous juice?
Joe Hill would have to say no because he's spending time on dumbass comics.
This book wasn't dumb. It just wasn't for you.
True. We say that about most comics.
Yeah.
I think I think in regard to, I had a moment where I was like, why on another publisher? rather than
I even got
your
confused if it was
own
the same guy.
imprint. And I think it boils down to what we talked about earlier, that that the imprint is specifically horror, and I don't know that it's going to be horror. And I think one thing that probably fell flat for me is Joe Hill in my brain being a horror comic book writer now. And that's certainly not all he's written. He's had plenty of other genre comics, but I just expect that, and especially with the title that we had, I was like, sweet, another Joe Hill horror book, and it wasn't that.
This was also an imprint on IDW.
Okay, so
No.
it just
Oh,
Black
it
Crown
is.
is from IDW. Also, Black Crown is no more. That's why it's on IDW, and it probably was supposed to be.
This
on
was
Black
going to be a
Crown.
Black Crown book.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's what it was.
okay.
This was definitely scheduled to be a Black
we
Crown
haven't
book.
confirmed that, but we do know that
You're right, but
we're putting pieces
But I'm going to
together.
say, without a doubt, this was a Black Crown book. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
And that's why it ain't so good. Black Crown was such.
I love that you just keep trolling the three. You're in the minority, but you keep trying to say we've come to a conclusion that this book was bad. And none of us have said that, but
We got to take hotter takes. No, this isn't just me taking a hotter take. It wasn't for me. I will leave it at that, I guess. I haven't left it at that. I can.
You aren't going to be happy until you convince everyone in this room
To
that
burn
this
up
comic was bad.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. You guys see yourself following this? I would like, when you do read it, let me know how this person died, and why.
I will not give you the satisfaction.
Let me ask you
I'll
guys
probably
this.
have a cold dead finger.
Maybe a conversation for our listeners and what they want to hear over on our Patreon feed. But I was thinking, more often when we say, this is interesting, I wonder what the hell the second issue is going to be, that we should turn our Patreon feed into like just that.
I completely agree with
Do you
that.
like that idea?
Second
we
issue
can
club.
still do.
Yeah, it's like second issue club.
Yeah.
And it's like, was it actually good
That's
or
what
not?
somebody wrote me back on the Patreon and said that.
Really?
That's
That's what we should do?
Yeah, then we'll start doing that.
So
Follow ups with
we're
first
reading
issue
a lot
club.
of them.
because the
Oh, I like that. First issue follow-ups.
yeah, the cliffhanger on this was a little interesting with one, guy dying.
Yep.
Two, cops come into that guy's house. Is he going to be on the run? Is he going to get arrested? Is he going to make his case?
Tell him a joke.
Yeah, he'll probably have some yucks.
Well, I guess the thing now is like he's an ex-cop, so I
When
think
they handcuff him, the rubber hands fall off and he just runs away.
He's wearing one of those glasses, the disguise mask. Like, we can't even find the killer.
first before you arrest me, smell my flower.
Yeah.
The funny thing about getting arrested by women cops is you land in the boobies.
I think if anyone hasn't read this book and they pick it up after having listened to this, they're going to expect the character to be a full fucking blown
I know.
clown.
And he's
it's like,
not.
He's like a grizzled, like,
Yes.
I imagine his delivery being like, here's the thing about being a bouncer at a strip club. Ain't great. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's very solemn and like
You fall in.
grizzled.
And you get
So
ass
That
and
wasn't
STDs
even.
at
That
the
was
same
like.
time.
That was like one of the segues on the way to the punchline of a joke. Like I feel like you've made it all about
So
that comment.
I
and it's
read
not.
it. I read it like
Yeah,
that-
do an impression. What do you think this guy sounds like
I
on
think
stage?
you've already. I think you already did one.
Okay, yeah, I'll do one. Okay.
God.
So I was a cop, you see, and over here I was making an arrest, and this guy, he was fucking a dog. Could you believe it? He fucked a dog. He killed the dog. The dog also got arrested.
That is so far from how I interpreted any of this.
I kind of like that guy though.
That's almost
Do
the joke.
you?
That's the joke he told.
That wasn't a joke. The joke was
I'm
the-
literally about to pull
No.
this up and read it.
The joke-
just so you can see.
the joke he was trying to make was you never meet an evil genius in homicide. Everyone's a fucking idiot. There's
Yeah,
no
but
motivation behind
On
murder.
TV shows, every person who commits a homicide is like a genius.
Yeah,
on
like
the
a
right.
criminal
Yeah.
mastermind.
I get-
And his joke was he caught the guy by saying, "Oh, we'll catch you because you left the DNA evidence inside the Cocker Spaniel." And the stupid criminal goes, "Joke's on you. I pulled out." And the cops go, "Well, you just confessed, so now we can arrest you."
Right. Okay. I think.
Here's my thing too.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed when someone's writing a joke or music lyrics in a comic
Yes.
that aren't off the wall
Yes.
fucking garbage.
Yes.
Like,
So I think it's like weighted. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's-
I'm grading on a curve.
Yes,
It was like
correct.
it read like an actual
You could-
stand-up routine
you
to
could
me. Like I could see
It
someone
did, it
actually
did,
doing
yeah.
that stand-up
Yeah.
routine, and I said, "Wow, amazing!" Because normally, if someone's trying to be funny in a comic, it is like horrible. So many people are bad at writing
I'll give you
character
that,
types
yeah.
that take.
That are just not based in
Well,
any kind of reality.
It takes
that
a
you
lot
live.
of expertise to be a stand-up comedian, so it makes sense that not a lot of writers could write a stand-up comedian.
I guess the thing that got me is we're supposed to believe that like the audience is supposed to be like he's actually funny, he's just not appreciated. Because he's so good that this guy is stealing his jokes to get on Leno. So
But here's the thing.
Well, I think that
He's
guy's
not-
stealing from a lot of people.
he's not a
I think he's taking
he's not
the
a true failing
2-3
comic, though.
minute bit
Okay.
from each person and then selling that to his producer lady.
and I think he's also our main character bombed in this club.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 7 people listening and no one was laughing. I don't remember like reading ha-has.
Even those 2 guys that went up to the bartender were like, "We have not heard anything that's made us laugh yet." Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not doing well
right.
there.
Oh, fuck. Those guys had guns.
yeah.
They did have guns.
Do you think they killed the
Maybe
other
they
comic?
killed the comic in the alleyway and like got his money from him.
Pinned it on.
Yeah. Because the guy puked on our comic, and
Right.
so he left his jacket in the dumpster.
Right.
Holy shit. How are you not liking this book? So many twists and turns.
So he's gonna have to homicide his own murder.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. See?
I also didn't know
He's-
that
he's-
dying is hard, but comedy is easy.
How-
Is like
He's
is a,
Monk, but Monk's the
it's a thing
suspect.
people say outside of this book.
Yeah, I
Is
think
it?
so.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
so
know
that makes me like the title more. I'm coming. I was a low 0.5. Now I'm like into the 3 or 4 range.
Okay. Well, specifically Budget King, keep an eye out for our Patreon where we cover the second episode.
I can't wait. I was serious. So
You can read my copy, so you don't have to give Joe Hill any more if you're that torn up about it.
No, I actually do. I have as much anticipation on this as I did the Jetsons figuring out
What painting it was?
painting it was.
Oh, fuck. What painting
I
was
was
that?
so stoked. It was nothing.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
really?
even know if it was a real painting. I think it was something they made up. It was like family dinner.
Oh. It
Was it
wasn't,
not? Was it not a real painting?
I don't think it was.
Like a rock. What's that guy? The
Rachmaninoff?
family. The
Thomas,
family.
Thomas Kincaid?
Oh,
Was
I
it
wish it was a
Kincaid?
Thomas
Norman
Kincaid.
Rockwell?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. of.
Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff. Put to painting.
You have it, Mike. Look it up. In
I
the-
just, oh man,
Wait,
I really wish
at
it
some
was a
point, like, can
fucking
you
Thomas Kincaid,
Yeah.
confirm for us? I'd love to know what it was.
I'll
I'll post
right
it side
now.
by side
Okay.
the master of
if I
light?
find it. I think we did a great job reviewing these 2 comics.
I think we got to
Let's
scoot.
call it a day.
All right. Bye, everybody. Be sure to check out our year-end episode coming in about 2 weeks. Be sure to follow us on Patreon if you want some extra episodes. We already kind of teased it. We'll be covering some second issues. So if you want to see some of that, find us at Patreon. Rate, review, 5 stars. See you all next week. Be safe out there.
This has been another episode of First Issue Club. We are a proud member of the Fountain City Frequency family of podcasts. Our music is provided by Primary Color Music. We are recorded in KCUR Studios. You can find us, rate us, friend, and follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your favorite listening platforms at First Issue Club, FIRST.